No, I totally agree. And that Indiana defense has just been stellar this entire season long. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, again, just like you said, how Indiana is going to do against Oregon, playing them twice this year. And I want to also mention, Miami, they won that big game against Ole Miss last night. I mean, now Indiana knows if they win this game against Oregon, they could potentially be, going up against Carson Beck and that stellar offense and defense as well. What have you really seen from Miami as well, too?
Exactly. I was watching that game last night, just so impressed by Miami. Honestly, I thought they should have won that game by a lot more. They were really just kind of controlling that one, but let Ole Miss kind of into it by dropping some interceptions, things like that. But whichever team leaves here today, the number one thing will be Miami is playing at home for the national championship. Something kind of crazy to think about since it will be at Hard Rock Stadium. But if you're Indiana, you almost can't even be thinking about that right now. I heard from Pat Coogan earlier this week, and he was talking about how, yes, he's been on that run with Notre Dame last season going to a national championship game. But right now, you can't think about that game because this is still the college football semifinal. There's only 2 college football games remaining on the schedule, and you're the second to last one, trying to play in that last one. If you get ahead of yourself, especially right now, against a team like Oregon, that's where you can slip up.
No, I totally agree. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, this college football playoff, we've talked about it multiple times. To see the Final Four, right? To not have teams like Alabama, Georgia, things like that, it's huge. So I think that's going to be huge for Indy. And I also want to, ask on a personal note, how have you been, just within this whole entire Indiana kind of, run? How have you felt this team? I mean, we talked about it like their dynamic, just dynamic culture, right? What have you seen from them?
Yeah, really, that's a great way to put it, Sabrina, that culture that they've been able to foster. Right now, I mean, a lot of the stories around college football, even with a team like Notre Dame, is the transfer portal and these guys moving around. When you look at Indiana right now, yes, they've obviously taken transfers, but look at some of the guys they've taken during Curt Cignetti's time. Bringing someone like Aiden Fisher over from his time down there in James Madison. That's a culture guy on the defensive side. Bringing Pat Coogan on the offensive side. An offensive lineman winning offensive MVP at the Rose Bowl. That doesn't happen. In fact, it hasn't happened, I think, since the 1940s. He was a big culture guy. We saw that firsthand with the Irish last season. So not only has it been, yes, obviously, Fernando Mendoza as well from Cal. Not only has Curt Cignetti gone out and gotten productive transfers, but like you said, he's gotten transfers that are good for the culture as well.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. And it's just so interesting to me, Curt Cignetti, what he has built at Indiana. I mean, you've seen it now in the transfer portal. A lot of players wanting to play for Indiana. I mean, it's insane. And kind of talking about Curt Cignetti, I've seen a lot of press conferences from him here in the college football playoff. Has he kind of seemed like he has a different chip on his shoulder to you as well? Because I feel like he has some extra motivation heading into the season, knowing that the last time, they lost a game was actually to Notre Dame.
Well, Sabrina, as you know, and many of our viewers probably know, it's hard to get a read on Curt Cignetti. When you talk with him, he's very consistent. Maybe some people might call him grouchy, or I think a former player said he's, never happy, and he disputed that report. But just he is very focused on doing this. I mean, if you think about his career, it's been incredible. He was on Nick Saban's staff when he came to Alabama and turned the Crimson Tide into, maybe the greatest dynasty in college football history during his time there. But after a couple seasons, he left because he wanted to make his own path. And even at a later age, he went down to Division II, won there, moved up to Division I FCS, won there, moved James Madison up to FBS, won there, and now in his 60s is at Indiana. And, Google him. He just keeps on winning. This is a guy that I think, even though, yes, he's not as a head coach been in a moment like this in a college football playoff semifinal, he just seems like the same guy. It's just throughout this week leading up to this game. I don't think anybody can faze a coach like him who's kind of been through it all, who's seen the highs with like the Alabama team, then gone to Division II and to work his way back up. I think for Cignetti, there's nothing that can really rattle that guy.
I completely agree. I love the former player. He was like, yeah, you never really know if he's happy, if he's sad, if he's mad. It's funny. But I also want to, I know we talked a little bit about them, but Oregon, quarterback Dante Moore versus Indiana's pass defense. When you look at a team like Oregon going into this game against Indiana, what kind of, I know they played incredible against Texas Tech. I know Texas Tech's offense didn't really show up in that game, but what has Oregon really shown you, now going into this game against Indiana?
I know we've talked a lot about Fernando Mendoza this season, and rightfully so. He's the projected #1 overall pick. He's the Heisman winner. But you know who might be the #2 pick in the NFL draft? Dante Moore. As a QB, he is one of the most talented, if not the most talented, in the country. Obviously, in that first game against Indiana, they held them to their offense to just 13 points. Remember, there was a pick 6 in that 30-20 win, so basically 13 points was scored by Oregon's offense at home. That's a very good performance by this Indiana defense. That goes back to them just being in the right place at the right time, doing the right assignments. However, right now, going forward, I think of Dante Moore as a difference maker for this Oregon team. Last night from Miami, we saw Carson Beck lead that last drive, make the right decisions, and rush in for a touchdown. He really put together the game-winning drive because he's such a talented QB. Dante Moore, probably even more talented. Doesn't have as much experience, but when it comes to talent, he can make any throw on the field. So if you're Indiana today, you just have to be thinking, don't let him beat us with any explosive plays, because if someone gets open downfield, even just a little bit, he can hit that throw. So you have to keep him in check. And we've seen Oregon's running backs. There's been some transfer news around them, some injuries with Noah Whittington, maybe questionable. We're not really sure exactly who's available and who will be getting the most carries in the backfield for the Ducks. So that just makes it even more important. Stop Dante Moore, kind of contain him, give him the 5-yard throw, but don't let him beat you with the 15-yard one.
No, I completely agree. I mean, this game's going to be incredible. I feel like it's kind of going to be a back and forth battle, but I mean, Indiana really showed their dominance against Alabama, so you never really know what could happen in this game. And I know we have a little bit of time left to go, but I kind of want to ask this. I mean, you said you've seen some Indiana Hoosier fans there, you know, maybe some Oregon fans there. If you're an Indiana fan, I mean, how special has this, I mean, if you could put you in their shoes, how special has this incredible run been, really?
Well, I've been talking with some of them just kind of, at the airport, when I was leaving out of Chicago, now down here in Atlanta, seeing a bunch of them at the hotel. I mean, when I say there's mostly Indiana fans, like I am saying it's probably been 90-10 Hoosier fans to Duck fans from what I've seen. So much red. They're really hyped up. I mean, even before we just got on right here, they were just shouting at me, "Go Hoosiers," things along that line, saying that they're going to win it all, that they're confident in their man Signetti. They seem really, really confident. They seem just really happy. Talking with them, I think the biggest thing they feel is just kind of this level of gratitude. I was talking to some fans on the flight over, and they were mentioning how they went to Indiana about 30 years ago, and that back in their day, you would tailgate for the football game, but then you didn't go in. No one really went into the game because they were most likely losing. The next day they'd be like, "Oh, did we win?" And usually it was a no. It was just, what to do before basketball season starts. Right. Now they went back to campus for senior day. They were back there with all the people in their class, just really enjoying this football run. I mean, even right now, I'm seeing, Indiana fans just walking all around. It is definitely a crowd that I think understands that this is not normal for their football team, and they're enjoying every second of it.
I know. To be an Indiana fan right now, right? I mean, I bet it's been fun. But Jackson, thank you so much. You'll have much more coverage throughout the entire weekend. Are you going to do anything fun before the game, or just kind of get ready for the game?
I'm heading right in there, Sabrina. I can't wait to get back inside Mercedes-Benz. I'll be live in the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and then with you at 6 o'clock, live from inside their pregame right on the field level. So can't wait to get down there and just hoping for a really good game tonight. I think Indiana, if I had to pick right now, I would have them as the team that I would pick to win this football game. They just seem so tough to beat right now.
And if they do, I can't wait for that Mendoza press conference right after, right?
Me too. Me too. Everything he says is the best.
He's the best. All right. Well, thank you, Jackson. You're the best as well. Stay safe out there, and we're excited for all your coverage throughout the entire weekend. We'll see you later. Thank you guys so much for watching this stream, and enjoy the Indiana game tonight.